Okay, today we're going to be showing you how to replace the heating coil on the 601 steamer from Silver Fox. You might notice that the heating coil is discolored and has like some, bad spots on it. This is usually the result of improper cleaning procedure, or oftentimes people will turn on the steamer accidentally with no water in it, and that will permanently damage the heating coil. The other thing that we're going to do is replace the thermostat at the same time, because that's most likely damaged as well. So first we're going to remove the casing, and I'll show you how to do that. Okay, to remove the casing, the first thing I do is take the cap off so I can keep all of my screws in place. There are 5 small screws here that I'm going to take out first. And okay, you'll notice I can't take this off yet until I remove the funnel. So we'll just twist and pull that out, and then we have access to everything. Okay, once I've gained access to this, I'm going to remove the thermostat. There is a little plastic zip tie that holds it in place, and I just snip that, and then the thermostat comes right out, just like so. And this is usually got some damage on it. As you can see, it's got some charring on both sides. Once I've done that, I'm going to remove the heat shrink from around the posts so that I can take off the connectors. Okay, so next step is to once I've removed the shrink wrap, I'm just going to remove the connectors here, and this would be all I need to do if I was replacing the thermostat. You got to be careful because this will want to fall. So I find that if you just sort of insert one side into the metal groove over here, it'll hold itself. So this thermostat needs to go. But since we're replacing the heating coil, I'm going to do that first. So we've got 3 screws holding the heating coil in place. I've got this cool tool that allows me to reach down and easily remove the 3 bolts, or 3 screws. There's 1. There's 2. And there's 3. You want to be careful not to lose those pieces. So I'm going to keep those up here. Then this thing should just drop, and you want to hold. Make sure you don't lose this rubber gasket here. You're going to need that to put on the new coil. And you've got 3 washers and a mounting plate in there as well. So hang on to those. Okay, so now I've got the new heating coil. You see it's all nice and shiny. I'm going to put that rubber gasket back down on top of it. And then I'm going to seat this right back up through the same spot. Okay, now I've reseated the heating coil. I've just finger tightened the screws back on, and you want to just be careful not to cross thread those. Take your time, and then I just tighten them down. We want to make sure we've got them pretty snug, so we've got a good seal on that gasket, because obviously steam is going to be coming up through this area. Okay, so the next thing that we're going to do is to completely remove the thermostat, and in order to do that, I'm going to just remove this zip tie here that just holds the wires together. And the thermostat's connected in a couple places here. So right here, and also the other side you'll see is connected up here. Lastly, it's also soldered to the indicator light here. So I'm just going to heat up my soldering gun, and just enough to remove that wire. Okay, I've turned it this way just so you can see the inside better. Thermostat was connected there, and then I've got to just heat up the soldering point here so I can remove this last wire. And there we go. Okay, so here's what the thermostat looks like outside of the box. We're just going to toss that, and then we're going to insert the new thermostat. It's a good idea to just put a little water on the outside so it slides down nice and even. And you want to make sure that you insert it all the way down to the bottom, and it's going to be just at the bottom of the coil there. Before I connect these electrodes, I like to put on some new shrink, so we're going to do that to protect it from the elements. And you can get this at your hardware store. It's just heat shrink, and you can cut it to size. I happen to have a couple pre-cut already. Imagine that. So I just put them down, and then make sure that you're connecting in the same order you were before. So I've got this piece is going to go over here. Sorry. This piece is going to go over here. And you just finger tighten it down on there. And then this is going to go back on the other side. This is coming from the power supply. Okay. snug. And then this is going to come back up and connect over to our power switch here, and this piece will connect up here. And I'll do the other one next because I'll need my soldering gun to touch it into place. Okay, so you'll see that I've got the thermostat in place and it's connected here, and it's also connected here. The last thing I need to do is to insert that connector so that the indicator light goes on, and I don't even use any extra soldering. I just reheat same stuff that was there, and goes into place like so. So now we're ready to test it, and before I go ahead and re-shrink everything, I like to just test it a couple times. I'll just gently, put the case back on here. I'm not even going to reconnect the tube, but what I do have to do is put the funnel back in here, and that's going to prevent the steam from coming out so that we can get a proper test in. So I'll just put that in here. Sometimes you have to moisten it a little bit, and then I'm going to put the cap on so the steam stays. Okay, so now I've got the water jar back on. I'm just going to turn on both the ozone and the power switches. Both lights should light up, and I already started boiling this, so it's going to boil pretty quick, and you'll see that the steam is flowing out. So what I do is test that, let it run a couple times all the way through so that it reaches the low level watermark, and the thermostat should cut the power off, and that's a safety feature of all of our steamers. So let that run its course, and it should shut off, and we'll make sure it does. Okay, so it's reached the low water mark, and it's usually right about there, right just above the bottom of the heating coil. I'll zoom in on that. You can see where it's cutting out, and yeah, so that's tested perfectly, and we'll go ahead and put everything back together.